So very officially now, hello everybody. For the ones who don't know me, my name is Rana Adib. I'm the Executive Director of the REN21 Secretariat here, and I'm welcoming you to this launch event of really an exciting new flagship activity of REN21, which is the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker. So what do we see? And I think we have seen this. So we are launching this tracker today, and we'll share with you a bit of context, also the process and some of the results. So we'll have different parts. But I think one part which is clear is renewable energy is growing faster than ever. That's a reality, and costs are going down. It's happening everywhere, and very clearly the current even though evolving, but basically the geopolitical moments of the last weeks, months, and years are clearly showing how important it is that we move from a fossil fuel-based reality to renewable-based reality, and all the opportunity this represents. So they are growing faster. Today, renewables account for 85 to 90% of new global power capacity additions worldwide, depending on the data sources. And still, we do see that fossil fuel still supply around 80% of the global energy use. So we very clearly see that between renewable energy deployment and basically what is happening on the energy consuming side, there are some aspects to bring together. So this clearly raises some questions, which are, do we measure the right things? Are we looking and pushing the renewables in the right way? And now let me just share very quickly a few slides before. So for the ones who don't know us, I think it's really important to remind who we are. So we're a global network of 130 institutional members and a community of 4,000 plus players. What is important about this network, it's really a network that is very diverse across stakeholder groups. So governments, industry, science, academia, and NGOs, across sectors and ecosystems, and also across government levels. And I think it's really, this basis is fundamental because it really gives us a very holistic view, a systemic view to renewable energy. We're building on this networks towards building a renewable-based economy. Why? Because our vision clearly is that a world, so our vision is a world where renewable energy is a foundation for strong, equitable, and resilient economies, and also the undeniable choice for people, nature, and prosperity. And this is really where the REN21 network comes in and is working towards through knowledge, narrative, communication activities, and collective advocacy. Now, building on this, over the last years, we have really recognized, I think, one part, which is that renewable energy, as I mentioned, is happening and is still not happening quickly enough. And so we recognize that there is a moment to really move from only a fuel switch approach and only looking at basically renewable energy replacing fossil fuel to something that is much broader and is basically the renewable-based economy framework, where we recognize that renewable energy is obviously in the main source and the energy system when we're looking forward. And this is the aspirational part, but also is the underpinning part to resilient economies and societies. And if we have such a broader approach to renewable-based or renewables, this framework also requires another way of integrated policies, but also assessing the impacts. And I think what is clear is if we're looking at these 80% of fossil fuels still supplying renewables, on the other hand, still supplying energy, on the other hand, renewable energy having record installations, being the least cost option, being the best option in many regions of the world, it is very clear that there are systemic barriers and also systemic opportunities. And this brings us to the question and the framing in the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker, which is that renewable energy operate in a system and an energy system, an economic system that have been built for fossil fuel. And this makes change obstructed and complex. It's a reality that the wider benefits of renewables are overlooked and often also not quantified. And also that leaders, especially in these current times, prioritize growth and security and fail to see the short term is overriding long term. So this brings us to the fact that very much you can only manage what you measure. If the objective is to work collectively towards building a renewable-based economy, we also need to adopt new metrics that really capture the true value of renewables and inform decision makers, and basically build an operating system that is fit for renewables, fit for the future. And this is kind of the framing, which is now bringing me to invite two panelists here to have some discussions with me. So I'm asking José Donoso from UNEF, who is the General Director of UNEF, joining me here. So UNEF is the Spanish PV Industry Association. And Rosalena Lindo, he is a former energy minister from Panama and is a senior fellow for REN21. So Jose and Rosie, I'm very excited to have you with me here, have you with us, because as you know, REN21 has been shaping very much the renewable energy trajectories by providing evidence, by asking and framing the questions. Today, we're in a moment of really building a new energy era, a new economic era. And I guess like a question to both of you would be, why is now the right moment to actually build the renewable-based economies and start tracking progress toward the renewable-based economy, rather than focusing only on renewable energy deployment? So maybe I turn, if that's okay, Rosie, I'll just first turn to Jose. Jose, you will speak from Spain's perspective, from solar PV perspective. Would be interesting to hear your thoughts. Why renewable-based economy and why a new tracking framework?
Thank you very much, Rana, for the invitation. It's an honor for me to participate in this launch of this new era for REN21. Why? You must only to check the electricity prices in this moment in the sunny hours in Spain and in the rest of Europe. We have very low prices, too low, I must say, in comparison with other countries that have not advanced so fast in the deployment of the renewables. And this is giving an important opportunity to the countries with renewable resource. For instance, in our experience in Spain, we have more or less 2,000 hours of sun. We have land that gave us, with this solar electricity, the possibility to produce the cheaper electricity in the world. That produce two facts. First one, all our development of PV in the last 7 years in Spain, 40 gigawatts, were made in market condition. We were the single country in the world that developed his PV in market condition. And the second fact is that we are giving to our country a new opportunity for industrialization. 5 years ago, only 2 gigawatts of projects asking for to be connected to the grid. Today, this amount increases to 70 gigawatts of projects of demand. Projects of databases, manufacturers, hydrogen, that wanted to come to Spain looking for this cheap way to produce electricity, that is the PV. Then, 20 years ago, we were speaking about to develop renewables for ideological question, because we believe in a clean source of electricity. We believe in to fight against the climate change. But today, the ideology is not in our side. It's in the side of the people that wanted to continue with fossil fuels or nuclear power station. The economics is here. The opportunity, especially for these countries that in the past has not one opportunity because they don't have in his territory fossil fuels or other conventional source of electricity, is very big for them because now can produce electricity with competitive advantage in relation with the traditional countries.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jose. This is already really setting great scene. I think the economic opportunities, competitiveness, and obviously the cheapest solution to produce electricity, but also the importance of electrification, I guess, and the end-use sectors. Rosie, I'm turning to you. Why a renewable-based economy today, and also why a new tracking framework? And I think it's also great to hear you speak from is he a former energy minister side, but I also know that you are very much also looking at the societal aspects, I guess. So over to you. What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Rana. And first of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you who have joined us today to celebrate the launch of the Renewable Energy-Based Economy Tracker. And I'm especially grateful to those who dedicate their time and their expertise to bridging the gaps that will allow our economies to truly prosper to renewables. While the world is deploying solar panels and wind turbines at unprecedented and record-breaking speeds, the deeper structural transformation of our economies are struggling to keep pace. And that's why there is a clear positive correlation between high levels of renewable energy penetration and strong performance in public health, education, and happiness. Countries that rank highly in human development and well-being have consistently made significant progress in renewable energy adoption. This relationship is bidirectional and shaped by broader factors such as economic development, sound policies, and strong institutions. For instance, a study in Moldova found that 1 percentage point increase in renewable energy consumption is associated with approximately a 1.6% increase in the Human Development Index. Similarly, the World Happiness Report and related research shows that countries leading in sustainability and renewable energy use, such as the Nordic nations and Costa Rica too, consistently rank among the happiest in the world. Studies also confirm that higher renewable energy adoption correlates with improved public health outcomes, including reduced energy poverty. In this context, the Renewable Energy-Based Economy Tracker emerged as an urgent and essential tool. It will help decision makers and investors identify and overcome structural bottlenecks, providing clearer, data-driven arguments to accelerate implementation right now. It is well established that the increase of renewable energy use has also a positive correlation with the gross domestic product growth. And more recently, clean energy alone accounted for approximately 10% of global GDP growth in 2023, contributing around $320 billion to the world economy. However, the world needs to track something even more important, how renewables go beyond GDP and genuinely enhance quality of life. And that's why I see the tracker as a powerful tool that would help us focus on solutions delivering these genuine people-centered benefits for citizens in both urban and rural areas alike.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Rosie, and also for highlighting basically this quality of life and how renewable energy is directly correlated to this. Maybe a very quick follow-up question to you, because we clearly see that when I said like you can only manage what you track, it is also about obviously policy and regulatory frameworks are fundamental. Governments and policymakers are key decision makers here. Do you see, just your point of view, are policymakers today ready to move beyond gigawatts? And if if so, if not, how do we basically, what is required so that we reach them and convince them that the renewable-based economy requires new tracking approaches?
Yeah, sure. I do believe our policymakers are ready to pass from how many gigawatts we install to the how deeply are renewables reshaping entire economy sectors. And by exposing structural dependencies in non-power sectors such as heavy manufacturing, transport, and buildings, the tracker will prevent governments from greenwashing their energy progress based solely on power sector statistics. It systematically monitors policy frameworks across buildings, agricultural, and industrial heating, clearly identifying the cross-sector policies that are still missing. And this is a very necessary tool in order to be able to analyze our own performance in the countries. But above all, I'm sure that it will serve as a powerful accountability mechanism. It could map the availability of clean finance, grid readiness, and supportive tax schemes, enabling corporations also to identify which nations offer a competitive edge for green investment. The tracker for me could also help leverage international cooperation by providing standardized, transparent metrics on grid readiness, regulatory frameworks, and fossil fuel subsidy reforms. And ultimately, the renewable energy-based economy tracker could eliminate information asymmetry. And this will allow the multilateral development banks to quickly identify which country have the foundations or need additional support for build the foundation structures ready and be ready to absorb large-scale capital.
Thank you, Rosie. Maybe Jose, just a follow up, because I think you're pointing on something that is really important. It's like the alignment of policies, but also the foundations which we basically need to build up in the countries. Jose, what is, I think, your view? Spain has been quite leading on some alignment. What is the learning here from what is easy, what needs to happen, what are challenges that are remaining, what requires a particular attention so that we can really build a foundation for renewable-based economy?
Oh, it's a very exciting issue, because really we have our big fundamental reason in this moment is our competitiveness. Competitiveness, we can see with the Spanish example. We've developed 40 gigawatts without governmental intervention. That we need at this point from the government is not to put barriers. The problems are the political risk when government that for ideological reasons consider that he must stop the renewables and he must support the old technologies. This is that I can say to the policymaker is not put barriers. Leave that the markets will be alone, will continue alone, and don't continue thinking as if we were 40 years ago. We are in 2006, and the new conventional technologies are the renewables one. Then, what are the major challenges? In Western countries is the system of fixed price, because it's a marginal system that was originated thinking in a system that the most of the components came from fossil fuels without variable cost, but we have no variable cost. Then when you arrive at one situation as it is in Spain, we have more than 60% of our electricity is produced by renewables, then this market leaves to give one price signal to country with investment. Because as in the sunny hours, the price go to 0, 5 euros, or even negative. That is very good for the citizen, but not so good for to continue with investment. Then we need to rethink the system of fixed price and to go to a system that allow that to put in this to organize one market system that must have taken consideration the cost of the capital. That is our real cost, the capex. Second challenge is social acceptance. When we were very few, small, we have a very wide social acceptance. But agree with we growing more, we found group of interests that are fighting against us and are giving to the people one fake news about the impact of the renewables in the landscape, in the environment, and so on. So then we need to fight for that, because if we lost the social acceptance, we lost the political support. From our association, we are creating one certification of excellence to showing one way to the developers how they must develop his solar plants in the way that they will maximize the positive socioeconomic impact at the same time that they maximize to the positive impact the biodiversity. Mm-hmm. Third important challenge, security of supply for the consumers. Storage becomes something imprescindible. It's so imprescindible as a panel for a new solar plant. Storage voltage to participate in the voltage markets, in all the resilience. We must assure to the consumer that with renewables, they will have the electricity with the same quality and with more warranty of supply that were in the past with the conventional ones. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. This is extremely helpful, and I also think it shows very clearly different challenges, but also big opportunities we have, right? Because we have the technology, the solutions. There's lots of examples and experience also on how to manage this and what needs to happen to change the foundation. I think what is great to hear is also underlying how important the societal acceptance is here. Obviously, this means directly what is the cost, but then also what are the narratives and how do we build trust? So your voices and your experiences are fundamental, but I'm actually really so I'm very happy that you're joining us for the launch of the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker today. But I'm also really happy to listen to this because we are also launching the tracker as part of the Renewable-Based Economy Hub, where there is narratives, there is stories and opportunities to really raise the trust that renewables do deliver lots of benefits and can deliver the secure energy supply. So thanks a lot for sharing your perspectives to both of you. We're looking forward to further engage and also bring your experiences to lots of stories. And now I'm really, really happy to invite Jad basically to take on the spot here, and very excited to launch the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker. Jad, over to you. You are part of the knowledge and data team. Lots of efforts here in the Secretariat team, a huge contributing community, and over to you to the launch of this new flagship. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Rana. Thank you, our scene setters. So I have a couple of slides just to show you how the tracker came about, and then I'll walk you through the renewable energy based economy hub. Just one second. I'm sharing. Am I sharing the right screen? I hope so. I have two screens. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
No, okay.
All right. So for nearly 20 years, REN21 produced the GSR, the Global Status Report, which tracked the growth of renewable energy around the world. The GSR focused primarily on energy supply, technology deployment, and policy development. Success was often measured in installed capacity additions, and the number of countries with renewable energy targets and policies. But the context has changed. Today, the renewable energy is no longer a niche technology. Renewable accounts for almost 90% of new power capacity and generates around 1/3 of the world's electricity. So the key question is no longer simply how much renewable energy we are building. The more important question is, what is renewable energy changing? Is it making our economies more resilient? Is it improving energy security? Is it creating value and reducing dependence on fossil fuels? That's the shift behind the RBE Tracker. So we're moving from renewable energy deployment, measuring the renewable energy deployment, to understanding whether renewable energy is transforming energy systems, economies, and society. So that's why REN21 is launching the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker today. So a new way of measuring what renewables brings to the economies, societies, and energy systems. A key principle behind the tracker was that it had to be community driven. We wanted to ensure the indicators were not only ambitious, but also relevant and feasible. We started with a survey that involved around 90 experts and stakeholders, followed by dedicated workshops, and a framework then was refined with a group of special advisors, and we had a peer review process that involved more than 200 reviewers. The result is a framework of 35 indicators organized around 4 dimensions: energy security and energy systems, economy, society and governments, and environment and climate. So this is the URL of our new website. A key principle behind the tracker. So this is the RBE Hub page, the home of the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker. It brings together the tracker findings, supporting data, methodology, case studies, opportunities for collaboration. So the hub was designed not only as a platform to present findings, but as a living resource that can evolve over time as new data and evidence emerge and become available. The tracker, at its core, brings together findings and headlines indicator across 4 dimensions to assess whether renewable energy is contributing to broader economic and societal transformation. One of the central messages is that renewables are expanding rapidly, yet fossil fuels still supply around 80% of our energy demand. And many of the supporting systems, from grid, storage, to finance, and policies, are not evolving at the same pace. The tracker was created to help understand this broader picture. The first dimension is energy systems and security. It examines whether countries are moving away from fossil fuel dependence towards integrated renewable energy systems. Today, modern renewables provide around 15% of total final energy consumption globally, and fossil fuel represent 80%. At the same time, renewables generate around 1/3 of electricity generation, showing both the progress made and the challenges ahead. Electricity itself represents around 23% of global total final energy consumption, highlighting how much of the transition is still needed in heating, transport, industry, buildings, and agriculture. The tracker also examines broader aspects of energy security. For example, 92 countries remain net energy importers compared to only 36 net energy exporters. Today, these indicators help assess whether energy systems are becoming more resilient, flexible, and secure. The economy dimension explores how renewable energy is reshaping investment patterns, industrial development, and value creation. In 2025, renewable energy reached approximately $690 billion in investments. At the same time, investments in electrified transport almost reached $900 billion, illustrating how much the transition is increasingly influencing entire sectors of the economy. Renewable energy now supports around 17 million jobs worldwide, demonstrating that transition is becoming a major source of economic activity and employment. The tracker also highlights challenges. So governments still provide around $440 billion in fossil fuel subsidies in 2024, and compared to 158 billion for renewable energy. So these indicators help assess whether our economic and financial systems are evolving fast enough to support renewable-based economies. The society and governance dimension examines how the transition affects people, communities, and policy frameworks. One of the tracker's clearest findings is that only 17 countries currently have renewable energy policies covering all 4 major demand sectors: industry, transport, buildings, and agriculture. This highlights how fragmented policy remain in many parts of the world. The tracker also includes indicators related to energy access, affordability, participation, and enabling policy frameworks. For example, 690 million people still lack access to electricity globally, while approximately 120 million households in high-income countries spend more than 10% of their income on heating and cooling. At the same time, renewable energy are providing cheap alternative for access and affordability. Approximately 286 gigawatts of distributed solar PV capacity were installed last year globally. So together, these indicators help assess whether the benefits of the transition are reaching people and communities. Finally, the environment and climate dimension assesses whether renewable energy growth is translating into broader environmental benefits. Since 2010, renewables have grown by approximately 70% in total final energy consumption. However, over the same period, global energy-related CO2 emissions still increased by around 15%. Renewable energy is growing rapidly, but not yet displacing fossil fuels at the scale needed to reverse emission trends. This dimension helps identify where renewable deployment is reducing environmental impacts and where additional action is still needed. We also we have a dedicated methodology section where it provides full transparency on the development of the tracker, including the indicator selection, data sources, assumptions, and limitations. It also highlights some of the most important data gaps that still exist today, from renewable energy contribution to the GDP and value creation, to ownership structures, affordability indicators, workforce transition, and system flexibility. In many cases, understanding what we don't know is just as important as understanding what we do know. The hub also includes country case studies that complement the global indicators with the real-world examples. The first edition includes case studies from Denmark and China, showcasing different pathways towards a renewable-based economy. These studies illustrate how policy choices, infrastructure, investment, planning processes, and governance can accelerate the transition. They help bring together indicators to life, and they will be available in a few weeks. Finally, I would like to show you our figures and the data download page. So to support our transparency and further analysis, all figures and data sets used throughout the trackers are available for download. This enables everyone from researchers, policymakers, journalists, and practitioners to explore the evidence themselves, reuse the data, and build upon it. And you also can definitely get involved through different means. So the hub was designed as a collaborative platform. Through the community section, stakeholders and everyone can contribute to data, participate in future reviews, engage with the broader RBE community, and help strengthen future editions of the tracker. Especially because many aspects of the transition remains undermeasured. The collaboration is really key to improving the framework over time. The RBE Hub really represents REN21's next step to understanding the energy transition. It was created because the transition can no longer be measured only in gigawatts. The real question is whether renewable energy is creating more resilient, secure, and prosperous economy. So please let's bring together indicators, data, case studies, and grow this community of contributors. The hub can provide a framework to help answer these questions and better understand the progress being made and the work that still lies ahead. Thank you very much. Back to you, Rana.
I get. Oops.
Now we hear you.
Now you hear me. Okay, I was muted. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jad. Really great to guide us through this. I think just from my side, probably we invite all of you to visit the website, go through all the data, and I think that there is a very clear call to action, because you said it's as important to know what we do know and also the data gaps. So this is very clearly, as for many of our tracking efforts at REN21, a call to contribute and help close the data gaps. We realize that these are also new indicators you're asking for, right, that have been identified. So I guess if I give you the chance, what is your call for action? One sentence. What do you want people to do next?
Like what I said at the end, help us build this tracker to become a global tracker that measures all of the things that we set out to measure from the beginning. We started with 80 indicators and we dropped it down to 35 at the end because of data availability, because of comprehension, because of impact and feasibility, and etc. So really help us grow this to be much more comprehensive and much more detailed in the future. And thank you for joining also this ride. So that's my call to action.
Great, thank you, Jed. And also, I mean, for everybody, please, if you have questions specifically to knowledge and data team and to the tracker, drop them in the chat. We'll have a Q&A session, so that I'll see you back later. And I think from my side, I think it's really exciting to see this, and it's building very much on over 20 years of data tracking at REN21 on making renewable energy visible, making the indicators visible, that and also making them relevant to the different type of decision makers. And today, I think, to really shape the new era, we need basically these new tracking frameworks. So please join all forces so that we can support basically the new era. As in the past, as for any REN21 activity, this is a collective effort, and I'm very excited to basically have three of the key contributors with me. Joining me here on the panel, so we have Nicolas Midi-Morec from the SLOCAT Partnership on Sustainable Low Carbon Transport. We heard this before. It is not only about supply, it is very much also about how we shape all the economic and industrial and energy consuming activities. Nicolas, welcome. We have Diala Hawila from IRENA, team lead in policy and finance, a former REN21 bureau member. Diala, very happy to have you here. And we have Debbie Gray, Senior Energy Policy Manager from the International Hydropower Association, joining me here. So, Debbie with us. Okay, I'll start. Debbie is probably joining us here on the virtual panel very soon. So I'll start with the two of you. A question, I think. Yes, hello, Debbie. Hi. It's always better to all be in the same setting. I think all three of you have actively contributed to not only closing data gaps, but really helping set up this new tracking framework that we heard. It has 4 dimensions and is really looking beyond what typical energy statistics look at. So a question to all three of you, after saying a big thanks, obviously, for your contribution, is what was basically for you the most striking findings when we're looking to the fact that renewables is growing rapidly and fossil fuels still provides around 80% of final energy use? A question, why does this gap still persist? And then on the tracking part, what were the highlights actually from your perspectives? So maybe we'll start with Diala because yes, Diala, over to you.
Thank you, Nana. I'm going to start with a positive. So first of all, I would like to congratulate you and your team very much for this very, very nice piece of work. And, even back when I was at the Bureau, I always commended REN21's creativity and ability to bring very important topics and to showcase them and present them in such a nice way. And this tracker is your latest proof of how you do it so nicely, and really congratulations. And I'm so proud of all of everything that is now showcased in this tracker. Congratulations. So I will start with the good news, or what I mostly appreciated in this tracker. And I think I will borrow a lot from what Jad said, because I wanted to say the same thing. I wanted to talk about how when I started using REN21 products 16 years ago almost, it was about reporting on the number of countries that had renewable energy targets. And the focus was on the number of countries that had installed capacities or a feed-in tariff, for example. And then 8 years later, we started moving from capacity, focusing more on generation. And the most important part we did was move from power to heating and cooling and transport. I mean, that was the highlight of the narrative exactly halfway since it all started. And today it's so nice to see the narrative move once again and advance once again to put the people at the center of this energy transition, and to find indicators to track it, or to track the energy transition from a very realistic point of view. So we're not talking anymore large-scale systems. We're not talking anymore things that are so far away from us as humans. We are talking about how the energy transition impacts us directly, our affordability, our ownership, our finance. So congratulations. And I think that what I would like to see in 8 years, maybe, or maybe even sooner, a step forward in how the energy transition is embedded in the structural changes that we always see. So I see that we did a very good job in tracking investments and talking about finance. Maybe we can go one layer deeper next time and look at the financing structures, look at the countries, for example, if they need to take more debt to cover for the energy transition. And then even as another step forward, to look at international collaboration and define international collaboration, so that you can show the whole world, or you can tell us all, how well we are performing in international collaboration. How well are we performing in regional collaboration? Because a lot of those things that you are tracking, we will not be able to do on a national level in all countries. Some of us are very small countries, and we will have to come together with our neighbors and look at it from a regional perspective. So this is what I think that would be a nice, very nice way forward in this tracker. And I just want to end on also also something that really touched me, is that I was reviewing the first weeks of the war, and when the whole discussion was about fragmentation and the discussion was about fear of energy security. It's nice to see that this tracker captures the security, and it's nice to see that it's capturing how renewable energy can increase this resilience and can increase this security. So I think that it is, I mean, we are on the right track, and I really look forward to the next version of this tracker. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Diola. I think it's yeah, this is also what we see. Like, thanks for highlighting also this this echo to the current times you see security and resilience, and I think this is where we basically see like what we're reading every day in the news and experiencing in our cities, societies, and countries is directly linked actually to the value renewable energy does bring. So it's rather motivating to see that it can contribute to a better world, I guess. So thanks for highlighting this. Debbie, I'm going to turn to you because I think you have been very active also contributing, shaping this. You know all the IHA data. You're launching your report next week, I think, on the tracking. And I think you're also speaking from a sector that does typically not only provide electricity, but also other services to the economies and society. So I would be very curious to hear from your experience with the tracker work. What did you find the most valuable and surprising during the development? And then also share your perspective.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Rana, and also for inviting me to this, to participate in this event. I would say, first of all, I'd like to start with a congratulations to REN21. I participated in the initial brainstorming, and a few of us did from IHA, and we all came back saying, wow, I wish we could organize a brainstorming in that manner. For those of us who are there, you might recall that you really have mastered the electronic tools, and you've mastered the way of getting input from so many people from around the world, even though we're all sitting in our home cities and our home countries. So congratulations to you. Again, that is really one of the strengths of REN21 is your capacity to crowdsource information and really make good creative use of these tools. I guess one thing that struck me personally is seeing that figure of only 15%. I guess because since I come from a sector which produces electricity, we tend to innately associate electricity with energy, but of course it is not. And so we look at all the positive progress we've had over the years, and I admit I'm sitting here in the province of Quebec, Canada, where our electricity system is about 99% renewable energy. So we tend to, but of course our energy system is not. So I think that it was a bit of a stark reminder in numbers that no, even though we've made great strides in terms of greening our grids, our energy system as a whole, we obviously have a long way to go. So that was one bit of information that surprised me. One of the things that I found really interesting about the report, well, I'm echoing what other people have said, but the focus on not just either the gigawatts or the terawatt hours or whatever electrical metric that you use, but also the emphasis on as Diola just said, on the people and the impact that renewables can have on society. IHA, we're part of a group called the Global Renewables Alliance, and one of our slogans this year is job security growth, and we've just added electrification. And those are all topics which you have touched on and which you have dug into quite well with this tracker. So really looking at the whole system. And to pick up on what you said in the introduction just now, Rana, I think we really need to look at beyond just, and echoing some of the discussion that's going on in the chat, we need to go beyond just either megawatts or gigawatt hours. I think we need both of those metrics, but we also really have to look at the transmission grids. And I saw one of the indicators that you're looking at is what has been the investment in grids. And just looking very quickly at the graphs, you see the investment in renewables has been doing that. Investment in transmission grids have been doing more like that. So yes, there has been some investment in the transmission grids, but we really have to put the dollars there to say in a bit of a pithy way, there's no transition without transmission. But in addition to the hardware of the transmission grids, we also need to look at what are the energy sources that provide all the services that grids need. And that's a really hard concept to get across, not only to the general public, but also to policymakers, because when we turn on a light bulb, we pay for the kilowatt hours that our light bulb is using, but we don't pay for the ability for that light bulb to be turned on when we need it to be turned on. So say it in very, to summarize in a very non-technical way, we need stuff happening on the grid, and that stuff happening on the grid can only come from certain sources. And of course, hydropower and pump storage hydropower, those are two of the best non-fossil ways of providing those grid services that we need to make sure that our grids are robust and can incorporate increasing amounts of intermittent renewable energy like wind and like solar. And you do have an indicator with regards to storage. And so because one of the guiding questions was also like, how can we improve and what can we do in the future? I would encourage you to look at all different methods of storage. Of course, pump storage has been around 400 years. So it's not as new. Batteries are, of course, the new kid on the block, and there's a lot of attention being paid to them. But in addition, there are other forms of long duration energy storage. And that is really what we're going to need to make sure that our grids are as robust as they need to be for the energy transition. So I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And also thanks a lot for highlighting really the importance of this integrated energy system. So it is deployment, it is infrastructure, it is the different variability, the interplay of the different sources. You see like dispatchable sources like hydropower, geothermal, biomass, etc., but the storage function and variability options. And this directly leads me also to you, Nicola. You're representing an energy consuming sector that is obviously where we're saying, okay, we have looked at renewables very much from the supply side, but actually, ultimately, it is about switching on the light when you need it, using your car, public transport when you want to move. So, Nicola, you're representing here a sector that is lagging behind. Let's be, if you like, I think you have 4% renewable energy share, 30% of total final energy consumption. You have been very vocal about the importance, I think, of renewables, and we really thank you also for pushing basically and representing this energy consuming sector in this effort. So for you, what has been the most striking in this new renewable-based economy tracker work, and where do you see the role of transport?
Yes, thanks a lot. And let me first echo what Diala and Debbie said. Like, it's really amazing what you put together here, and really want to congratulate you on the launch of the RBE Tracker. It's really an amazing piece of knowledge. And just in the case if somebody doesn't know SlowCat, you can just think of us, we are like the REN21 for the transport community. So also we are like multi-stakeholder collaboration that brings together transport stakeholders and to advance sustainable low carbon transport. And I would like, I think the most surprising, the most thing I really want to highlight is kind of already from the renewables GSR. I was very well used to kind of the collaborative and the inclusive process that REN21 and the year 2021 always ensured in the report development. But I feel with the RBE Tracker, I think even like raised the bar even further and kind of even further. I think you called it a structured participatory methodology, and I really feel like you again raised the bar a lot and kind of improved this inclusive, collaborative approach to a new extent, and so that even I can I was able to share data, to contribute my knowledge, and to provide any inputs to anything else from my transport expertise. And yes, and I also saw like kind of you took these contributions and reflected them in the report, and your vision was effectively better, more transparent, inclusive way, and the quality of the report got so much better through with every collaborative approach. And and I think also what was very striking for me. So usually when I provide comments to reports or to partners, especially if they're not from the transport sector, I just kind of open the document and I look, okay, where's the transport chapter? Where can I find the content on transport? But here in the RBE Tracker, like in the GSR back, I think you had like sections on transport. In the RBE Tracker, transport was mentioned throughout the whole report. Like it was really streamlined throughout everywhere, and then connected with so many different sectors. And I feel like that's actually also probably the best approach. And also like it really signals and shows the great interconnectedness of transport to other sectors, and how kind of everything's interlinked, and how everything needs to be like tackled together to really establish some progress and achieve some improvements. And as you said, yes, indeed, transport is really the black sheep of the renewables energy uptake. And also I think the RBE Tracker was really great to show this very ambivalent role of transport.
Sorry, Nicola, you have been muted. I think everybody has been muted.
Oh, sorry, I think there was some noise, and then there was some music. But yeah, I was just want to highlight the ambivalent role of transport. Kind of, so as Jados was mentioning in his presentation, that transport receives the highest amount, like I think he said 900 billion of clean technology investments, so like the highest amount among any of these areas. And also actually the RBE Tracker shows that the largest number of policies enacted by countries is also on transport and renewables. But at the same time, also transport is the most, as you said, is the most lagging sector. Like it's the lowest share of renewables energies, and also like I think it has the highest share and the highest amount of fossil fuel subsidies it receives. So there's definitely like a lot of issues and a lot of things that we need to further solve, and transport cannot do it alone. Like just the uptake of EVs or electric vehicles, it's not going to solve it. Like we really need to like kind of make sure that the EVs are powered by renewable energy. We also further need to like kind of consider how other measures can be implemented to reduce the energy demand by transport, so that the fossil fuel demand decreases while we secure and increase the scale of renewable energy available for transport. And I feel like, yeah, the RBE Tracker really made this great achievement in connecting transport to other sectors, showing the synergies and showing how the nexus needs to work and how the future of renewable-based economy, and then also renewable-based transport needs to look like in the future. So thanks a lot.
That's great. We're going to pick you up on the renewable-based transport, because this is like, I think, also, I mean, we see also with the whole, it's like you highlighted the electrification part, but I think there is also another part, which is these energy consuming sectors have lots of opportunities to reduce the energy demand and bring efficiency in. Electrification plays a role here, but it's very clear that we also need to make sure that it's the right electricity, so renewable-based electricity. So thanks for this. I think like Diala, maybe coming very quickly back to you, because I think you touched upon a really important, or all of you touched upon a very important point, which is looking from power to energy, and then from the energy system to broader economy and society. This also means to some extent a larger messiness, right? Because we all have a different ways of looking things. We all go deep, and how do we basically create the spaces and the data to connect things? But you also touched upon one aspect, which was this is not something only countries alone are going to address, but we also basically need, we see a regional collaboration here. So maybe your thoughts on how do we ensure and how can we collectively ensure that something like the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker and this tracking framework is also reaching regional policymakers? What is the role of an organization like IRENA? And so what are important next steps?
I think important next steps would be to maybe start also tracking things that would matter to these regional organizations, like for example trade agreements or other industrial policies that can be tracked on a regional level. Including the regional centers or regional players, and also including other organizations that track this data and that already have connections with the governments and the regional players. But also there's the international part as well, right? I mean, there are some, it is inevitable that the 1.5 degree scenario, or whatever we want to call it, is a collaborative scenario rather than a competitive scenario. So there is also the global framework of moving from competition and conflict and fragmentation towards a world that collaborates. I mean, they do not align. Wars with 1.5 degree do not go together. It has to be a global effort, and we have to start tracking the impacts of wars on the 1.5 degrees or on the resilience, security, and justice angles.
I think it's really great that you speak about the resilience part, because I feel like, I mean, we have like so renewable energy for climate resilience, obviously, but then for economic and societal resilience is actually fundamental. Now, maybe because we have two other contributors, I have like my team telling me here that we have other contributors who are probably also good to bring in particular, because you spoke also about the trade agreements and I think the finance part. So maybe not do, so if that's, I would ask you to join us here on this virtual panel. From IISD, you have also participated in shaping this framework and in the RBE Tracker. Would you like to maybe specifically speak about the trade aspect and regional collaboration?
And maybe Nat, if you switch on your video, I can add you to this panel.
Sorry for enlarging it, but you brought up this in this part, so I thought like Nat is actually a good. Nat, hi.
I'm sorry. I was. Could you repeat your question again?
Okay. So no, I think it's because so from IISD side, you had participated basically in the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker, and also because Diala just spoke about the industrial policies, trade policies.
Right.
There's a part of, so just your view, and it can be very short.
Yeah, I mean, the industrial and trade policy, I believe that's very important. There's a need for, a lot of countries to provide support to renewables, to basically kind of like promote their not just installation as we all see in terms of gigawatt, but also like deployment integrations, as well as the whole value chain support, as well as EVs as well. And we all see in the tracker that subsidies for fossil fuel has overshadowed what is the government is putting to support renewables. So that's an important policies that I believe that could make a huge difference in terms of building a renewable, shifting from all policy framework and system towards a renewable based policy, especially in the time of fuel crisis. In terms of trade, there's a lot of different trade agreement, the ACCTs, also kind of like speaking into that, shifting towards more a renewable based economy and facilitate the transfer of renewable equipment to different countries as well. So I think there's a lot of things to be done in both the industrial and trade policies. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Nat. And probably I will take this part, also the regional and the resilience part, back to you, Debbie and Nicola. We very often, and I think Debbie, you spoke about this, you see, like from the Global Renewables Online, that it's about growth, that it's about electrification, that it's about jobs. How do you look basically at, you see, like, what is your view on Renewable-Based Economy Tracker, the regional component, and linking this to trade and industrial perspectives? Debbie, maybe from,
Sure, thanks, Rana. I would say it's very interesting, but from a regional perspective. But what I was going to offer as my thoughts on areas for future development was to actually go one level more granular. And by that, I mean, especially in large federated countries, federal systems like Canada, where I happen to be from, or the United States or Australia, a lot of the energy decisions and policy are actually made at the subnational level, so at the provincial level or at the state level. So it's a big ask, but I would suggest for a future edition to go one level more granular, perhaps not for every country in the world, but for some of these countries where those decisions are made at a subnational level. And then this relates a little bit to the industrial and energy efficiency that we were talking about. But another suggestion I was going to make, or something which I would find very interesting, and I know has been looked at by IEA and others, but the growth of data centers and what impact that is going to have on electricity use. So it would be great if we're adding a lot of renewable energy to our grids, but if to paint an image, if that is all going just to adding more data centers and we're not reducing the fossil fuel, because if the renewable is not displacing fossil fuel but only being added to meet new load, a lot of it will come from transportation. A lot of it will come as well from data centers. That would be an interesting area to look at in the future as well.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And that's actually a great opportunity to mention that, you see, with the whole mobilization around electrification. So from REN21 side, we have a short intel brief on electrification. And we clearly see that today the data centers is rather a local development, right? It's mainly US and Canada, but that in lots of countries, there's then also the question, what is the value, the economic value, or to the economies? And there are, I think it opens quite a complex topic, but very clear. Any electricity and energy demand increase should be covered with renewables. This is something that is now, Nicola, maybe just on the resilience part, I think, because very often when we're looking in, especially you see crisis situations, so you need food, you need water, you need energy, and you need a supply chain that operate. And this is also part of transport. What is your view, you see, on the regional part, resilience? We heard the subnational government part, so this is also really interesting as next step. And then I think we'll have some Q&A.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And also, to be honest, it's a very complex and like multi-layered question that you're asking, and probably not easy to answer. I think especially from the transport side, like the majority of emissions come from like the global north, and but when you look at the global south, there the topic of resilience is much more important, and they're really because they emit very little, but they have very huge impacts in terms of like the road safety, the extreme weather impacts on climate change, also like kind of damage the road infrastructure, like the transport infrastructure overall. So there, the topic of resilience, if you go from the lens of resilience, you have much better entry points in discussions on renewables based, or like on sustainable transport, or anything related to climate action or sustainable development. And so yeah, definitely, I feel like what we need further to do is to strengthen the points and make sure, like make arguments around that kind of renewable based transport systems or renewable-based supply chains are much more robust, much more resilient, are much kind of strong against any kind of impacts that might come through climate or other external factors. And so that's also what I see as very important for the RBE tracker as next step, kind of because we now provide a knowledge base, like the information base is there. Now it's really like kind of to use it for advocacy, kind of, and also we at SLOCAT, we're very much kind of always in favor of having like evidence-based, fact-based advocacy and political messages. So I feel like the RBE tracker will be a great source and a great tool to like kind of advance advocacy discussions on renewable-based systems and uses, and especially also in the transport sector. And just as on this point of regional regionalization, also I think we at SLOCAT, we realize more and more that, of course, we participate in global discussions on sustainable transport and sustainable development and climate action, but then we see that often policymakers, they're much more can be more effectively reached on the regional level. So kind of within the region, within Africa, within Latin America, if you take the discussion on this regional level, and there you can reach the policymakers much more better, more effectively, and have a better, much higher impact. So actually, for the RBE tracker, it would be actually really nice to see in the future also maybe like regional versions or regional kind of components, regional chapters or this kind of things to further kind of influence any kind of regional policy making discussion and decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this leeway to advocacy and narrative is really great because I mean, this is ultimately, and I think in the scene setting part, it was also how do we reach people and how do we make it relevant to them? So here's maybe just I give all three of you a quick chance on to raise the opportunity and mobilize. Why should players engage in closing data gaps? And how do you think the RBE tracker can be used to actually shift the needle and start the foundation for renewable-based economy? Who would like to start? Very quickly. And then I'll ask Stefan to quickly join.
I'll start with very briefly. I think that the last case studies you showed at the end of China and Denmark, I think if you do more of these and showcase real life examples of studies that have worked either on a country level or on a regional level, I think that would be great.
Thank you. That's great.
If I can, I think it's great to show policymakers and also to show local communities from an objective point of view. Look at this is the impact on your community, and it's mostly a positive impact. So as Rosalina was saying earlier, there have been some negatives, some pushback against renewable energy projects. So if it's a promoter saying, hey, my project is going to do great things for your community, you might understand if the community might be a bit skeptical. But if they have different examples, as you mentioned, from other parts of the world, or they have, independent, neutral data which shows the positive impact, I think that can really help be a good communication tool with local communities.
Thank you. Nicola.
Yeah, I just want to echo what you said, Rana, in your introduction. Kind of, you can only improve what you measure. So I feel like that's kind of the reason why you need to look at data gaps and why you need to kind of try to solve these data gaps, because the only way to achieve any progress if you measure everything and kind of have a clear picture of what the situation is. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all three of you. First, obviously, to your contribution for framing, sharing some of your perspectives. And I think the reason why I also asked you on this narrative and advocacy is, so I'm just going to ask Stefan Singer to join me here from the Climate Action Network International. He has done a big supporter, I think, a founding member of REN21, and clearly a strong renewable energy voice advocating for renewables. So Stefan, maybe to close this part of before we move to Q&A, what is your view? You have been also closely involved in the tracker as a special advisor. What is your view on this? Where do we stand? What is the challenge? What is the way ahead? What are the opportunities?
Yeah, thanks, Rana, and welcome everyone. I'm Stefan Singer. I have left Can International because I was retired, but I'm still working for them. Just to be clear, just to clarify, I'm working as an independent expert as well for ARENA and for REN21 in that role, just to be transparent. Now, the question where we stand is always a question: is the glass half full or half empty? I would say we have two glasses. One is half full, the other one is half empty. That doesn't help you a lot, and it doesn't help me a lot, but I think that's the situation. We have in some countries things going comparably fast, faster than we thought, and that's a good thing. And we have in other countries, in particular developing countries, least developed countries, island countries, the lack of capital, the cost of capital, which prevents the investment in clean energy and renewables, and also in other social measures, because they're highly indebted. From a system that had over the last decades promoted their dependence on the global north from financing and brought them into deep depths, unfortunately. But that's a different story. But it impacts on the capability of investment in something new, what is renewables, and not maintaining what they have currently, which is currently in embedding power into the existing sources, which are mainly fossil fuels. Having said this one, I think we need to overcome that one, which is not the job of REN21. We can talk to that one, we can add the narrative, but it's the job of governments to provide the necessary funding for poorest countries for financing deep decarbonization, in particular as we work, and you might have seen that one, as we work this year, very likely, into the toughest, strongest El Nino we have seen in history. So that shows again the very strong impacts of climate pollution and points out the solution being needed from the point of mitigation, the other solutions we need on loss and damage and adaptation, but I'm not talking about that one here. Now on the renewable tracker, what does it mean for the tracker? Having had a couple of comments for you guys, I think there were too many, but nevertheless, yeah, you're laughing, Ron. I know. But I took my job serious. And I think, and I fully understand, this is the first iteration, and that's good. I would wish in the future, for future iteration, we would be a little bit more specific on hitting out, positively hitting out, who are the leaders based on criteria, and not having graphs where lots of dots and where you really have to study this. and knowing that journalists have a memory which is about less than a 2-minute elevator ride.
We excuse ourselves for any journalists who might be participating.
Well, this is true for politicians as well, but the journalists are our spokesperson towards the politician, I think. So we should use them, and then we need to be clearer and have a kind of. I would suggest a red light and a traffic light system, something like that one. Who are the 3 best? Who are the 3 in the middle? And who are the 3 worst? We can talk about that one, but I think that makes things more visible, and people don't have to go through quite difficult graphs and tables, I think. The other thing is on the criteria, I would wish, I know there was no time for that one, we would have more equity-based criteria. Equity-based criteria on not just deployment of renewables per country or percentage of electricity, but in terms of per capita deployment. That gives you a big difference between the global south and the global north. And then per capita deployment per capita income. That will show you significantly that the global south on average is doing much more than the global north, which is supposed to be the leader, right? And China as well. I think that's very important.
I think this is
Yeah, I know. I give you my recommendations.
No, but I was going to say, Stefan, I would almost want to finish on this note, because I think this is actually something which you see, like when we're looking, you see, like in the tracking history, the per capita data was always really leading to very different top 10 countries. And I think is really very much showing also, and I think indicating the opportunities renewable energy do present when you're building up a new energy system that is fueling and driving the economies and society. So,
but look also to per capita income.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Anyway, let's not have the technical decision here and discussion.
No, it's not technical. It's political in the end. I'm not going to take much more of your time, but I'm hoping that we develop that over time. And I'm willing to help you on that one. And the data are out there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stefan. And I think this is really, I think maybe a very quick part. So we had, like I announced, we had a Q&A session, but all the questions have been asked in the chat apparently, and also answered in the chat. So we took more time to discuss here. I do think that what is really important is all the way forward you have mentioned is really important to also underline again that there are, first of all, data gaps that are specifically highlighted in the Renewable-Based Economy Tracker. There is the RBE Hub that is really the opportunity, and with a real call that all of you come, join, share. And I think, Stefan, what you have mentioned is like further develop and complement this. And I'll take this part on the comparison. You see, like the tracker is basically the basis for scorecards, and given lots of data gaps that do exist on some of the indicators, there is for the moment not yet kind of a country, you see, like a country databases for all these indicators. So here a very clear ask to all of you, please share whatever you might have, and even if it's a big jigsaw puzzle, share the information with the knowledge data team. This is a continuous process. We're working towards, typically we say like these new things, and they are transformative. They drive the structural transformation which we need to build a renewable-based economy for people and the planet. And they require some data insights and collaborative efforts to close data gaps, and then basically making renewable-based economy the norm. I think somebody spoke about renewables as a conventional energy. The renewable-based economy will become the conventional economy, and the renewable-based economy tracking framework will basically guide us in working toward this. So let's collectively join forces to close data gaps. Please get back to us, use the interconnection and the communication possibilities to give your feedback, help improving it, use it, share the information, and we look forward to continue the collaboration here and jointly building a better world with renewables. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot to the Secretariat team. Thanks a lot in particular also to the Research Direction team and all players who have been involved in building this Renewable-Based Economy Tracker and the Renewable-Based Economy Hub. And thanks a lot, obviously, to all contributors. So there's a moment to celebrate now and looking forward to be in touch. Thanks a lot. Great work. Bye.